The time is now 7 o'clock. I would like to call this evening meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brooks,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Jablisco,
Yes.
Miles,
Here.
Mojica,
Here.
Newberry,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Timmons,
Here.
Parson.
Here. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Brown, would you please read the invocation?
Thank you, Council President. Father in heaven, bless us as we gather today for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community and help all of our people. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in face of difficulties, and wise in our decisions. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I'd like to take another few minutes for another prayer that we have for 9/11. And 9/11 within the city, within the world, of all the families that have had the hardships of losing someone. It says, O God, our hope and refuge, in our distress we come quietly to you. Shock and horror of the tragic day that have society replaced now with the emptiness, a longing for an innocent loss. We come remembering those who lost their lives in New York, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. We are mindful of the sacrifice of the public servants who demonstrated the greatness of love for all. By laying down their lives for friends, we commit their souls to our extreme care and celebrate their gifts to be fallen to humanity. We come remembering and we come in hope, not in ourselves, but in you. As foundations we once thought secure have been shaken, we are reminded of the security. In commemorating this tragedy, we give you thanks for your presence in our times of need, and we seek to worship you in spirit and in truth, and to guide us. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Capone, could you please read the open public meeting statement?
Notice of this meeting has been sent to the official newspaper, and adequate and electronic notice has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act as required by law.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes from the August 12th combined meeting?
I make a motion.
I second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Jablisco,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Mojica,
Yes.
Newberry,
Abstain.
Parker,
Yes.
Timmons,
Yes.
Parson.
Yes. Ms. Capone, do we have any presentations this evening?
Yes, National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month.
Okay. Councilman Brooks?
Proclamation National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Whereas September is known around the United States as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and is intended to help promote awareness surrounding each of the suicide prevention resources available to us and our community. The simple goal is to learn how to help those around us and how to talk about suicide without increasing the risk of harm. And whereas suicide is the 12th leading cause of death among adults in the United States and the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 34. And whereas we hold all those affected by suicide close in our hearts, those we have lost to this public health problem, the loved ones who mourn their heart-wrenching losses, and all the families and professionals working to support those in crisis. Though we recognize there is no single cause or single solution to suicide, we know that access to support and treatment can save lives. And whereas public awareness, education, referrals, and treatments are keys to prevent further suffering and loss of life. And whereas we encourage all to take the time to inquire as to the well-being of their family, friends, and neighbors over the next few days and ongoing, and to genuinely convey their appreciation for their existence by any gesture they deem appropriate. A simple phone call, a message, a handshake, or hug can go a long way towards helping someone realize that suicide is not the answer. Now there be it proclaimed that Raymond A. Giacobbe, Mayor of the City of Rahway, on behalf of the City Council and citizens of Rahway, endorse the observance of the month of September as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, dated September 9th, 2024, Mayor Raymond A. Giacobbe, Jr.
Thank you.
Patriot Day.
Patriot Day. Whereas on September 11, 2001, terrorists hijacked 4 civilian aircraft, crashing them, 2 of them into the towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, a third into the Pentagon outside of Washington, D.C., and the 4th hijacked aircraft crashed in southwestern Pennsylvania. And whereas these attacks were by far the deadliest terrorist attack ever launched against the United States, killing thousands of innocent people. Whereas that day and the days to follow, ordinary Americans performed extraordinary acts of heroism. And whereas these patriots, people of undaunted courage, uncommon resolve, unwavering perseverance, and forever ingrained into our national character. And whereas on this Patriot Day, a National Day of Service and Remembrance, we pay tribute to the heroes and victims who lost their lives on September 11th. And we recommit ourselves to the spirit of unity, patriotism, and service that carried our nation through the days that followed. And whereas unity is what makes us who we are as Americans. It is our greatest strength. When we come together on this day and every day, we demonstrate that even in the darkness, America remains a beacon of light, of hope for the world. And whereas on this day, let us honor the memory of the innocent victims we lost and carry the legacy of the selfless heroes who served our nation on September the 11th and its aftermath. And now, therefore, Raymond A. Giacobbe, Mayor of the City of Rahway, on behalf of the Rahway City Council and the citizens of Rahway, encourage all to participate in community service in honor of those that we lost, to observe this day with appropriate ceremonies and activities, including remembrance services, and to observe a moment of silence beginning at 8:46 a.m. Eastern Daylight, the time to honor the innocent victims who perished as a result of these terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001. Dated September 9th, 2004, Raymond A. Giacobbe, Mayor. And I do want to say, probably shouldn't clap to this, but there will be a gathering, as there is every single year, at the Rahway Fire Department right outside of City Hall. So if you can make it and pay your respect, we appreciate it. Thank you.
And National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Thank you, Council President. Mes Nacional de la Herencia Hispana. Whereas since 1968, under then President Lyndon B. Johnson, the United States has celebrated its Hispanic population, and under former President Ronald Reagan, we have done so between September 15th and October 15th by recognizing the contributions made and the important presence of Hispanic and Latinx Americans to the United States of America. And whereas Hispanic and Latino are often used interchangeably, though they actually mean 2 different things. Hispanic refers to people who speak Spanish and are descendant from Spanish-speaking populations, while Latino refers to people who are from or descendant from people of Latin America, such as countries in the Caribbean, including Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Central Americans, South Americans, and Mexicans, de Mexico, as well as other Spanish cultures and origins regardless of race, We acknowledge and honor both groups during this month, and whereas the month also falls in line with the commemoration of the independence of some Latin American countries, such as Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, on September 15th, as well as Chile, Belize, and Mexico throughout the month, Mexico. Whereas in the city of Rahway, our community can be described as an ethnic Masonic with more than 30% Hispanic population. We exhibit the growing shift of American society, and with wish to personally emphasize the contributions of Hispanics to the fabric which are village within American society at large. And whereas it must be said, the passion and spirit of Hispanic American culture is resilient from generations of parents and grandparents who immigrated to the United States to harness the American dream, whether centuries, decades, or years ago, till children who not only keep the dream alive, but are increasingly becoming the people who provide the guidance for others to pursue theirs. Now therefore, be it proclaimed by we, the mayor and municipal council of the city of Rahway, Union County, in the state of New Jersey, that September 15th through October 15th shall be known as Hispanic Heritage Month 2024 in the city of Rahway, celebrating the culture, traditions, and ever-growing achievements of people of Hispanic origin. Celebra con nosotros. Thank you.
Thank you, council members. At this time, we're going to move on to communications. Ms. Capone, do we have communications from the mayor, the city officers, and bill payment list?
Do you have it?
Yes, thank you, Council President. First, I'd like to start by wishing our very own Joey Jesamaria a very happy birthday. Joey, thank you for your commitment to our city by being here to make sure you can broadcast our meeting on your birthday. I missed the birthday cake, but I'm looking forward to the leftovers tomorrow. I would also like to take this moment to acknowledge my responsibility regarding the situation with the Rahway Public Library. I realize that much of the misunderstanding stems from my lack of attention to the library's needs. I am someone who reflects on my actions to evaluate my decision-making, allowing me to learn and make informed decisions for the future. This process of self-assessment is essential for personal growth. Moving forward, I am dedicated to providing the attention and support that the library truly deserves. I called an emergency library board meeting this past Friday because I recognize the vital role that the library plays in our community and the importance it holds for many of our residents. To summarize our recent library board meeting, I want to emphasize that myself and the City Council has committed to addressing any funding gaps necessary to reinstate our evening hours on Wednesday, restore Saturday operations, and to reinstate any canceled programming and subscriptions. The city has also committed to funding much needed capital improvement projects in and around the library building. I am personally committed to collaborating with my fellow board members to thoroughly review the 2024 budget. This will enable us to gain a comprehensive understanding of the library's needs as we prepare for the 2025 budget. My objective is to work closely with the board to develop an efficient and effective library budget that meets the highest standards and provides the quality services our residents expect and deserve. I want to assure you that the City Council and I are fully committed to ensuring that the Rahway Public Library operates at the highest standard. I would like to mention that the library received its levy balance with the transfer this morning. In addition, we recommended to the director to assess the current phone system and explore the possibility of transitioning to a modern voice-over IP system, which has the potential to generate substantial annual cost savings. The city will present a bond ordinance for the council's consideration during the October meeting to secure funding for the replacement of out-of-date computers. If the phone service recommendation is approved by the library board, the city will incorporate funding for the phone system into the same ordinance. These immediate actions reflect the strong commitment of both myself and the Rahway City Council. Moving forward, we have a choice. We can either continue to argue, or we can collaborate to ensure that the library meets the diverse needs of our community. Please evaluate me based on my actions rather than my words, but I do ask for the opportunity to demonstrate my intentions through my actions. Thank you for the time, Council President, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Mayor.
You also received the payment of bills, the fire report for August, and the police report for August.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have reports from council comments?
You
Committee?
received the monthly SID report and the public safety report,
Okay.
Councilman Brooks.
I think Councilman Brooks would like to speak on the public safety.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everybody. I'm pleased to present a public safety report, which provides a recent activities update and initiatives by the Roy Police Department. Following my meetings with our Police Director, Nicholas Brenner, who was in attendance, as well as Chief Law Enforcement Officer Gainley, also in attendance, this report summarizes key findings of traffic studies, recent public safety trends, and the department's ongoing efforts to enhance community engagement. So recently in our area, there's been an increase of vehicle break-ins, primarily due to transients or street-involved individuals rather than career criminals, in our opinion. These individuals who may be wandering through neighborhoods often find opportunities when the car doors are left unlocked. A significant number of break-ins occur because car doors are left unlocked, or in some cases where car keys are left inside of the vehicles. I'm sure we all heard of situations where people's cars have been stolen, but the cars were in the vehicles. That has been the case in many areas, not just in our city. So the advice to the public from the police department would be to keep your doors and homes locked at all times. Remove your car keys and valuables from vehicles when not in use. I even go a step further in my house, so from taking my keys from around the door area and bringing it to my bedroom. There's all different types of devices that can actually trigger a signal that could unlock some of the doors. So if you want to be extra safe, take that route. And of course, engage in a nightly routine of checking your vehicles and homes for secure windows and doors. I think these measures will greatly reduce the number of opportunistic thefts involving individuals who may be wandering through our neighborhoods. Traffic enforcement. So there's been an increase in traffic unit personnel. The traffic unit has expanded from 4 to 5 officers, focusing on enforcing traffic violations, especially speeding. As a result of this increase, the number of traffic summons have risen dramatically, with 955 summons in the month of July. Of these, 161 were parking violations. Approximately 800 were for moving violations, with the majority related to the use of cell phone use while driving. Please be mindful of that. Long-term traffic study summary for East Hazelwood. This was a location that has been brought up quite often in our council meetings, so I did want to speak to this. There has been a traffic study that took place over the course of almost 2 years, from September 16, 2021 until August 17, 2023. The total vehicles recorded during this nearly 2-year span has been 1,799,301 vehicles that passed through Hazelwood Avenue during this time period. So here are some of the key observations. Approximately 85% of the vehicles recorded were traveling below 30 miles per hour, indicating that most drivers adhere to speed limits on this residential street. Only about 1.5 vehicles were recorded traveling over 40 miles per hour. Not great, but 1.5%. While most traffic refrained within safe speed limits, the presence of faster vehicles, especially near Helping Hands Academy, definitely raised concerns about pedestrian safety. And then there was extreme speeders, which were at a number of 0.01% of vehicles, under 100 cars, exceeded 70 miles per hour over the nearly 2-year study. Fewer than 100 cars were recorded speeding over 70 miles per hour. 102 miles per hour was the maximum speed recorded in those 2 years. Crazy, but that was one time. So, conclusion, the data shows that the vast majority of drivers do maintain safe speeds. That's 99% in the area. Hazelwood Avenue, particularly near Helping Hands Academy, remains the focus of traffic safety improvements to protect pedestrians and local residents. Now, our department has painted shoulder stripings, installed flashing pedestrian crossing signs, have permanently mounted radar speed detectors installed, and continuously focus on that street for enforcement as per general order. Our police directors also took the initiative to try to have meetings with some of the residents that have caused, who have raised concern about this particular area. Also did want to speak to a comment that was made in regards to our officers on bicycles. As of right now, we have the community assistant team. This consists of 5 officers who are on bicycles, soon to be 6. And they have significantly contributed to the community policing efforts. And part of our conversation, Director, we discussed the natural barrier that takes place when you see a police officer in the car. You don't really feel comfortable to approach that police officer. And the police officer is, in their little sanctuary. When the police officers are on bikes or they're walking the beat, there's more incentive to communicate with the residents of the city, the travelers, and so forth. And their engagement has actually been notably positive. Of course, when people are walking or riding bicycles, they're more approachable, and this is a part of our efforts to do community policing. We also have increased police presence at the Rahway train station, if you have not noticed. A semi-permanent police presence near the Rahway train station has led to positive feedback from both residents and commuters. This initiative has significantly enhanced the perception of public safety in the area. For my wife, she takes the train sometimes as early as 4:30 in the morning. This is something that I truly appreciate, and I'm sure others feel the same way as well. Mayor Giacobbe has authorized the procurement of community policing substation that will be placed at Train Station Plaza on a long-term basis. I would imagine that is soon to come. So there will be a permanent police presence at the Rahway train station within the next coming months. And that's pretty much it for the report. It just goes to show that there is an effort in community engagement. That's something that the director stated that he wanted to do when he took this position, and I can attest that that's taken place. Myself, Director Brenner, Cleo Ganley, we're having weekly meetings and get updates. I have updates on stops and occurrences that take place. So you can rest assured that we're working hard to keep you informed and also to be proactive in our approaches. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to have a few words from our attorney. Lou, would you like to speak now? Go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. For those of you who aren't regular attendees at council meetings, my name's Lou Raynone. I'm the city attorney. Part of my responsibility and the clerk's responsibility is to make sure that these meetings run smoothly and that the record that's established at these public meetings is clear, because these are public meetings and they are official meetings of the governing body. Part of my role also is I serve as parliamentarian, so every once in a while you might see me jump in on a point of order or to keep the order of the meeting going forward. There's 2 types of actions we take here. We take action by resolution, which are generally administrative. We approve contracts and do those kind of things. And we also actually adopt laws, and they're in the form of ordinances. So there's some formality to this meeting that we need to follow because we need to create a public record. There are a number of sections in this meeting where the public has a right to speak. Those are not question and answer periods. Those are public hearings. It's for the public to put their thoughts on the record. So I don't, people sometimes get offended because they come up and they ask questions and they're waiting for direct answers, but it's not a back and forth at that portion of the meeting. At the end of the meeting, the council has a portion where the council speaks, and to the extent that they can or choose to, they will answer any of your questions. I know that, somebody who's been at these council meetings in these chambers for 4 decades now, I know some of the meetings get kind of hot and they get boisterous, but the council tries to be very respectful of people who get up and speak. We don't interrupt you. It's not appropriate for people in the audience to scream at the council in the middle of a meeting or at a portion of the meeting where they're not at the microphone and speaking. First, it confuses the record, and these are records of official proceedings, and we need to keep them that way. And secondly, it's just, honestly, it's not polite, and we try to be polite here in treating the public, and we would expect kind of that in reverse. So the sections of the meeting where the public gets a chance to speak. The next section of this meeting is actually public comment on any item that's on the agenda. So if you see an item on the agenda and you want to speak about it, that would be your time to speak about it. There are some ordinances on tonight, I think, for final adoption, and there'll be public comment for each of those ordinances, specifically on those ordinances, because they're laws and they require separate public hearings. And then at the end of the meeting, there is a public portion for you to speak on anything that, of interest to the public, essentially. So that's the chance to speak on items that aren't on the agenda. And at the end of the meeting, completely, then there's the council comment. So the council president just thought it was a good idea for me to just kind of set the tone for how this meeting is going to proceed tonight. And thank you, council president, for granting me this time.
Thank you. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead on and move on with hearing of our citizens. Hearing of the citizens of this portion of the meeting, the citizens will have 5 minutes to speak on items on the agenda with exception of ordinance on second reading, okay? And you may speak once, and you must please provide your address, and you direct everything to the council, please. And please be polite. We want to try not to go back and forth, as Lou just mentioned. So again, we're going to go ahead and move forward. So Ms. Capone, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
Yes, Alan Levy, 254 Oak Street.
Again, please provide your name and address, please. And the item on the agenda that you wish to speak on.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson,
Good evening.
members of the council, Mayor. My name is Alan Levy, 254 Oak Street. I wish to address, I was going to first address the question of the SID, the Special Improvement District, but I also do want to comment one thing on the on public safety and our police department. One,
But that's, I'm sorry, that's not part of the agenda.
The items on the
It's-
agendas are resolutions and ordinances.
Police report for August.
Correct.
This document's an agenda, right? I can't speak on the police report for
Sir,
August? That
this
the
is
councilman
exactly
said-
what I didn't want to do. The point of it is that the items on the,
If I time stop
excuse
while
me.
Mr. Renone
no,
is...
you don't get to do that either. I apologize. You don't get
Then
to order the clerk's
you're
room.
taking my time.
No, you're wasting your time is what you're doing. So
I wanted to
the
speak on
items
the agenda.
The items on the agenda are resolutions and ordinances, except for the ordinances on second reading. So you can speak on any of those if you'd like.
It says
And if not,
agenda.
your comment, I'm not telling you can't speak, but those comments will come at the end.
Thank you for shutting me
At the
down.
At the end of the meeting.
Sir, thank you for shutting me down.
You're welcome.
Give a contract to our police department. They've been without a contract for nearly a year. Give them a contract that's fair. And stop blaming
Order,
people
please.
for being...
Order,
Stop
Mr.
blaming
Levy.
people for being victims of theft because they didn't lock their doors. People are not responsible. People are not.
Mr. Levy, you could please speak on that at the end of the meeting if you would
on
like
your
to speak
agenda
on
item.
something that we're
I
going to be
want to
going
talk
on.
about the SID, Special Improvement District, which is on your agenda.
But that's
Or
not
are you going
on
to
the-
shut me down on that too?
I'm just saying, that is not on the agenda. You're welcome to
Of course
speak
it's
on
on the
that.
agenda. You put it there.
You're welcome to speak on it at the end of the meeting, sir.
I don't want to use my time to discuss an item that's on the agenda when I don't have to. Under the New Jersey OPMA, the Public Meetings Act, I have the right to address that agenda. And this
sir,
agency,
sir, in all due
this
respect- in
council
all due respect-
clearly doesn't act with transparency, and you're just shutting down a person who wants to speak for 5 minutes on an agenda item.
At the
You would
end
be
of the-
better off to let me finish my comments rather than just trying to shut me down.
May I ask what's the agenda item? What's the number?
And I did tell you that.
What is the
The
number?
agenda item, and I'll read from it, is the report of council committee, the monthly SID report.
Sir,
Can I speak on that or
No,
not?
no, sir, what you can speak on is
Can't
any
speak on
resolution.
something that's on their agenda. Think about that for a second.
Mr. Levy, my suggestion
You
is that
put
you
it
sit
on
down.
your agenda, and
My-
you won't let
Mr.
me speak on it.
Mr. Levy, my suggestion is that maybe you should sit down, because if you want to speak on what you want to speak on, you could do it at the end of the meeting.
I want you to
This is
speak on the
resolutions.
agenda.
Resolutions and ordinances is what's on the agenda, sir.
And what's on the
Sir,
agenda.
Sir,
Do you want to read the agenda?
By the way, yelling at me is not, doesn't make your point
You're
any
shutting
better.
me down.
No,
You're
no,
shutting
we're not.
down a citizen in violation of the Public Meetings Act. Read the statute,
It-
Mr. Renaud.
In all due respect, I know the statute, and it doesn't even require us to have this section
You know what?
on.
Instead of knowing it, read it.
In all due respect, sir, I've been doing this for 44 years. I know more about the Open Public Meetings Act than you'll ever know. And it doesn't have a provision in it that says that you even have to have a comment section on resolutions.
Oh, it
So
doesn't?
I understand, it does
Oh,
not.
okay. So you could
Correct.
shut down citizens from preventing them from speaking on your own agenda items.
At the end of the meeting, you can speak on anything that you want, sir. Now you can speak on resolutions and ordinances on first reading. That's the.
Mr. Renaud, Mr. Renaud.
It is what it is.
Thank you. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for
I'm
showing
sorry,
all
Miss-
these people what happens to people who want to address the board, want to address the council, and play by the rules you already wrote. But no, you decide to change the rules as it happens. Thank you for proving my point.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Do we have anyone else who signed up?
No. No one else signed up.
No one else signed up? Do I have anyone else that would like to speak on items on the agenda with exception of ordinance on second reading? Please step forward and provide your name and address and the item that you would like to speak on, please.
Hi, Travis Armstrong, 1375 Maple Terrace. AR 196-24, a resolution to accept and receive a grant from the New Jersey Department of Health Office of Local Health for sustaining local public health infrastructure grant. Can I get an explanation as to what exactly that is? And what is it for? Because in the description, it tells the grant money, but it doesn't tell you what it's being used for. What is the purpose of the grant?
When you're done with your comments, sir, we'll answer.
Well, that's all I have.
That was it?
That's
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Andrew Garcia Phillips, 1470 Campbell Street. I'd like to talk about a resolution that I'd like to put on the agenda. Is this an appropriate time to talk about that? I sent it
That's
to
at
you
the
all
end of the
yesterday.
meeting.
At the end of the meeting.
No? Could anyone
At
motion
the
to
end.
put it on the agenda?
No, it's at the end of the meeting,
Can a
sir.
citizen put
No,
something on the
no,
agenda?
they cannot.
Thank you.
What?
Not unless you get elected to the council, then you can put anything you want on the agenda.
Let's be respectful, please.
You know,
But we made it very clear, anything that is, if you're not up to speak on items on the agenda,
It was on the agenda.
you can speak on it at the very end, speak on whatever you like. But if you're talking about the ordinance and resolutions that's on the agenda tonight, please step forward and say your name and address. Thank you. He will get his answer at the end of the meeting, ma'am. Please state your name and address, ma'am.
sure, Quane Palmer Chambers, 12270 East Front Street, Plainfield, New Jersey. I'd just like to say number eight, and you know, I'm not a legal eagle, but I have a fairly good literacy going on here. It says, hearing of citizens' items on agenda. If you read what it says accept ordinances on second reading. It doesn't say that you can't address any item on the agenda. The only exception there that's written, right? You know, one thing I know that if it's written, it's there. So I don't know. Maybe perhaps
I'm sorry,
you
ma'am.
need to go back. you need to go back and make sure that this is clear, and then maybe citizens like Mr. Levy will not be so incensed when it feels like his time is being taken away from him, when he's actually following the rules that, guess what, you wrote.
Thank you, thank you.
And
Go ahead.
I'd like to attend one of those meetings that you have one day with Councilman Brooks, because we have some things to discuss.
Do we have anyone else that would like to come up and speak? Seeing no one else? Okay, please state your name and address, please, and the item on the agenda that you would like to speak on, with the exception of items, ordinance on second reading. Thank you.
My name is Edel Quinn. My address is 83 East Cherry Street, Rahway, New Jersey. I've never come to a city council meeting before, but I'm honored to have been invited to tonight's meeting. I signed on the paper there. I don't know if that's a proper procedure, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but just a few things I want to say. I have a little small bookstore in Rahway.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Is this something on our agenda?
I was just going to say, if the library needs...
You can speak on that at the very end of the meeting. There'll be opportunity to speak on that.
Oh,
Yes. It's right now is just the items that are on the agenda, the ordinance and resolutions.
Oh.
Okay?
and then the other thing, I support more police presence in Rahway and around the train station.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. We want to go ahead and move forward, and you will definitely have the opportunity at the end of the meeting to
Yeah.
speak on that, okay? Thank you.
And to reiterate what the gentleman was saying earlier, I do feel that the police department definitely needs more funding.
Come on,
Ma'am.
let's be respectful.
You come later on at the end of the meeting.
You will
can
definitely, you will have an opportunity to speak on whatever you would like to speak on at the end of the meeting, okay? Thank you. Since I don't see anyone else coming forward to speak, I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the meeting. And we're going to now move on to ordinance on first reading. Ms. Capone, please read 03224.
An ordinance amending Chapter 401 of the Code of the City of Rahway, Vehicles and Traffic.
Does any council member wish to speak on this? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Jablisco? Miles?
Yes.
Mohica?
Yes.
Newberry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Timmons?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes. 03324.
A bond ordinance providing for acquisition of vehicles and emergency response equipment for the Rahway Fire Department by and in the City of Rahway in the County of Union, State of New Jersey, appropriating $600,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $571,428 bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof.
Does any council member wish to speak on this ordinance? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Jablisco?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Mohica?
Yes.
Newberry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Timmons?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes. 03424.
A bond ordinance providing for acquisition of an ambulance and related equipment for the Rahway Emergency Squad by and in the City of Rahway in the County of Union, State of New Jersey, appropriating $400,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $380,952 bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof.
Does any council member wish to speak on this ordinance? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Jablisco?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Mohica?
Yes.
Newberry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Timmons?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
These ordinances are deemed adopted on first reading and will come up for a public hearing and final adoption on October 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda. The resolutions will be adopted on as one motion, one consent agenda. Do any council members wish to remove a resolution from the consent agenda? May I have a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda?
Council President, might I ask our attorney to provide a little bit of clarity on the question that the gentleman asked regarding the Health Department one, AR 19624?
Yes.
Correct. It's a grant in the amount of $168,049. It is to cover health infrastructure improvements within the city. I'm not sure if the administrator can give us more details than that. That is the terms of the contract. Or if the director is here.
Would you like to come forward and speak on it? Thank you. Please explain. Yes, go ahead.
I'm here on behalf of Andrea Elbarbe. Basically, the grant is to support. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Hi. My name is Dee Zhang. I'm with the Rahway Health Department. So the grant is for. Sorry. Thanks. The grant is used to support the functions and the capacity for local health departments. The grant is offered by the Department of Health. It has been, the grant is, it runs from July 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2026.
Thank you.
I'd like to offer a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Okay. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Brown? Jablisco? Miles?
Yes.
Mohica?
Yes.
Newberry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Timmons?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes. Okay, we're going to
Council
move.
President, can I just, for a moment, just state that as common practice, if you have a question relating any particular department, you can speak with an employee towards the end of the meeting and have a real, more easily digestible conversation. I understand that this is.
Ma'am, you are out of order.
Okay, we're going to. I'm trying to conduct this meeting, and I'm trying to be as polite as I can, and I would appreciate the same in return. Okay, we're going to move on to ordinance on second reading, starting with O2724.
An ordinance amending Chapter 401 of the Code of the City of Rahway, Vehicles and Traffic, Handicap Parking at 1663 Oliver Street.
Thank you. Do we have anyone signed up to speak on that ordinance?
No one has signed up.
Do I have any council member that would like to speak on that? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Jablisco?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Mohica?
Yes.
Newberry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Timmons?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes. O2824.
An ordinance amending Chapter 401 of the Code of the City of Rahway, Vehicles and Traffic, Handicap Parking, 1708 Irving Street.
Okay, do we have anyone signed up to speak on that? O2824?
No.
Does any council member have any questions or comments on O2824? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Jablisco?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Mohica?
Yes.
Newberry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Timmons?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes. Do I have anyone signed up to speak on that? O2924?
An ordinance of the City of Rahway amending Section 401-73 of Chapter 401, Article 10, titled Schedules to modify the parking hours on Broad Street. No one has signed up.
Okay, and council didn't have any comments. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Jablisco?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Mohica?
Yes.
Newberry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Timmons?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes. O3024?
An ordinance amending Section 429-49 of the Code of the City of Rahway, signs.
Do we have anyone signed up to speak on 03024?
No one has signed up.
Does any council have any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Jablisco?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Mohica?
Yes.
Newberry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Timmons?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes. 03124?
An ordinance to amend the parts of Block 226, 227, and Block 228 redevelopment plan pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law, NJSA 40A:12A-1 et set.
Do we have anyone signed up to speak on 03124?
No one has signed up.
Any council members would like to speak? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Jablisco?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Mohica?
Yes.
Newberry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Timmons?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on to miscellaneous. We have approval for Block Party 2407. I had a motion, Newberry and Councilman Brooks. So may I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Yes.
Jablisco? Miles?
Yes.
Mohica?
Yes.
Newberry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Timmons?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes. Okay, we're at this point in the meeting where we have communications hearing from the citizens.
Council President, if I may?
Yes,
just to
Mayor.
address, the question from before. AR 19624, the local public health infrastructure grant, that is so we can help upgrade our health facilities to make it more conducive for the workers and the residents who visit. Also providing a better workspace for individuals who are currently in the department. We were going to undergo this due to the size of our health department, outgrowing the current space, and this grant will help offset the cost of those projects. So, yes, flu clinics, health clinics, exactly. So, that is the purpose and the reason for the grant. Council President, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. At this time, I will open the floor for the public comment. All speakers are required to state their name and address. You will have 5 minutes to speak and only speak once. Please address all of your comments to City Council, please. And one second, ma'am. Right, the City Council will not respond at that time, but closer to the end of the meeting. Ms. Capone, do we have anyone sign up to speak?
Yes. Tom Jeddick, 752 Pierpont Street.
Okay. Ma'am, if you haven't signed up, you will have an opportunity to speak, okay?
Yeah.
Please state your name and address, please.
Yeah, sure. Good evening. Thomas Jeddick, 752 Pierpont Street in Rahway, New Jersey. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Parham, we know each other many years. Council, President and Council, thank you. I'm going to open up by saying I don't like Rahway. I love Rahway, and there's a big difference. I love the city of Rahway. I was born here in Rahway Hospital. I grew up early years on Church Street, the youngest of 4 sons, played down Robinson's Branch, fished, football, baseball, everything. Moved to a bigger house when we outgrew it, to Pierpont and Lake by Roosevelt School. Went to that school, met my wife, raised our family here. All of our kids went to Rahway schools, graduated Rahway High School. I'm very proud of them. I love this city. I don't like it. I love it. I'm not a very political person, but I got motivated by the people who were very passionate about the library and the issue. I would bet that most people don't realize the library I went to as a kid was at Irving Street and Seminary. It was a beautiful building that outgrew the needs of the community. It's still there. It's still a beautiful building. They built a new library where Lincoln School was, which probably most of you don't remember Lincoln School. Bet you don't. But it was a beautiful school at the corner of Pierpont and Central that was knocked down for the new library, which oddly enough wasn't built there. It was built at St. George and Central in a flood zone. Went to the library the day the water came running through the front doors of that library, necessitating the library we have today. Very passionate people, understood where they came from. You could travel the world by going into the Rahway Library. And I'm very happy to see that's been taken care of. But here's why I'm here. Because I've been in law enforcement for 45 years. 45 years. And I'm still in law enforcement. I did municipal, county, and now I'm in an interstate agency. I'm very proud of the Rowe police officers, many of, if not all of them that I know. I'm extremely proud of the Rowe firefighters. These people are first rate. Every single day they put their lives on the line. I thank you for your tribute for 9/11. I spent 2 months there, so I know firsthand what that's like. Okay, these men and women on Rowe Police and Rowe Fire dedicate their lives. There was a time when the police department in Rowe was one of the highest paid in the county, 21 municipalities. Those days are gone. My father was a police officer for 25 years in the city of Rowe. A juvenile detective who taught kids, coached kids, who I used to walk downtown to beat with him when I was this big. And I went to Schatzman's, Phil's Diner, and Mark's Harris, and John's Bargain Store. All gone. Robinson's Hardware. Everything. Soundorama. I know Rowe like some of you know Rowe. But when the Rowe police officers leave to go to other departments for better pay, or leave to go to other venues, we can't afford that. The nicest library on earth, the nicest park, the nicest art means nothing if you don't have the confidence and the safety for your people. You need to have well-paid and well-staffed. My father retired in 1983 with more police officers on that department than there is today. That doesn't make sense to me when we're building, and I like the building. I'm very proud of Rowe. I like going down Rowe. My wife and I dine at Rowe every week, sometimes twice. We go to every store downtown Rowe. Have a lot of pride in this town. Think the world of it. So when I tell you the town is only as good as how safe people feel and how protected they feel. And I applaud you for making the amends to take care of whatever you do for the library. Nobody's going to go to a library if they don't feel safe. And nobody's going to stroll downtown if they don't feel safe. Take a minute, take a breath,
1 minute
and understand how important these people are. They can go to other vocations. There's licensing now for police officers in the state of New Jersey. They're mandating licensing, a license that once that officer acquires, he or she could take anywhere. Keep that in mind. You have a lot of dedicated young police officers and old veterans, quality people, and the firefighters the same. And how do I know that? Well, because I train them for you for nothing. I train your fire department for free, and I train your police department for free in rail safety because it's critical for the city of Rowe. Please keep them in your mind. And when you do a tribute about 9/11, mean it. Because 9/11 could be tomorrow. In fact, it is. It could be any day. Look them in the eye, let them know you have their support, and take care of these people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Hergenhas, 116 Bryant Street.
Hello, my name is Mike Hergenhan. I live at 1116 Bryant Street. Good evening, members of City Council and all others present. As an educator and a father, I concur with the overwhelming number of constituents you've heard from this week that our public library is an invaluable resource to our community. And I'm glad that we've reached a tentative framework for keeping the library open and funded for the time being. That said, such a fix is only akin to using duct tape to treat an amputation. It does the bare minimum to solve the initial concern, but does nothing to aid the ongoing, lifelong treatment that will be required as a result. Tonight, I wish to further implore you to consider the long-term changes and commitments that we will need to make moving forward to make sure this does not happen again. Several of you know that I am a math teacher, so you'll forgive me if I focus as much as I can on the numbers themselves. First, let's be clear on the operating budget that this council passed in July. I understand that $1.32 million is a number that stood out as fair, given that this number is higher than it was in each of the past 3 years. However, I would like to point out that the 2024 budget that you passed was less total funding than the approved library budget in 2019, and 2018, and 2017, 2016, 2015, 2014, 2013, 2012, 2010, I'm not sure what happened in 2011, 2009, 2008, 2007, and possibly earlier, but that's the extent of the data that I could find. Now, furthermore, let's be realistic that the $1.23 million that we're providing in 2024 does not go nearly as far as it did going back 16 years. Even with that poor forgotten year of 2011, the $1.212 million budget, adjusted for inflation, is worth $1.69 million today. In fact, in every other year, 2007 through 2020, the library budget adjusted for inflation was never lower than $1.785 million. We therefore need to ask ourselves, what has changed? Why is it that the library has been one of the only line items in the city budget to see a net decrease in percentage spending over the past 7 years, while city salaries on the whole have increased by over 20%, and expense spending has increased by over 60%? In its recovery from the COVID years, the library was asked to dip into its reserves to cover the decrease in budget, a punishment, frankly, for the past financial intelligence and good planning on their part. Now that it has exhausted most of those funds, the library board approached the city this year with a reasonable request, a budget for $1.742 million for 2024, which I will remind you is less than the budgets from 2007 through 2020 adjusted for inflation, to allow it to fund all programming, maintain current staffing, perform necessary maintenance, and perhaps restore some of those depleted reserves. Instead, the response was to offer a budget at the state-mandated minimum of $1.32 million, the only time going back at least 17 years that the city has not provided additional funding to the library above the 1/3 mill rate. While we've been nowhere near the heydays of the mid-2010s, when the city spent $500,000 above the state minimum for 6 straight years, even the additional $140,000 from last year's budget would have been invaluable. To reduce to a flat $0 in 2024 is simply insulting. The library budget crisis, to borrow a phrase, didn't just fall from a coconut tree. It is the result of an ongoing years-long struggle to get adequate funding from the city. While it's nice to hear a consensus from administration on the importance of the library and its role in our community, it is incumbent upon you to match these words with actions. When a proposed library budget crosses your desk in the future, and the city contribution does not match that requested amount, it is your job to question this decision. Insist on opening a dialogue between administration and the library board ahead of time, rather than allowing the situation to fester or casting blame on any library employees. You have seen all week long how many lives this library has impacted and will continue to impact.
1 minute warning.
But only if you continue the fight for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Lesniak, 409 Jackson Avenue, Dunellen.
Hello, Council, Mr. Mayor. My name is Mark Lesniak, and I'm the Access Services Manager and Systems Admin at the Rahway Public Library. I've been at the library for almost 18 years now. Currently, I'm the Director and Supervisor for 10 wonderful employees that constitute the Reference, Children's, and Circulations Department. I also manage our building's 100-plus computers, 3 servers, 3 physical networks, RFID, et cetera, et cetera. I also extend, refactor, and author my own custom code that fulfill another number of library solutions. And I also manage the entirety of our business database infrastructure. And concurrently, I'm also our public service manager and point person for all customer interactions. So in essence, I'm a manager, a tech guy, and a bouncer. It's a pretty fun job. So I did want to take a couple of minutes to say, first of all, Mayor Giacobbe, thank you so much for funding our capital project for our new computers. Your predecessor funded approximately, I'm going to say 50 computers back in 2009, and I've kept them going for about 15 years now. So I look forward to keeping them for another 10 years. You only get 10 years because I'm retiring in 10. So, but and also, Mr. Ruggiero, I want to extend my thanks for sending us that VoIP business card. So we're going to see how they compare against the 3 quotes we got earlier this year, and hopefully move forward with that. But I had this whole thing I wanted to read here, and to be completely honest, I'm going to go over time if I do. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes to really sort of express the sort of thing that we do at the Rahway Public Library. I know you guys saw Liz here last at the pre-council meeting and the amazing enthusiasm that she generated in the public who came to show their support for the kind of program she runs. Liz, God bless her, gets 8,000 plus people a year through our doors just for her programs, which is a phenomenal sum of people. And everyone always says, you know, we need to speak of the children, we need to speak of the children, but Children's Services only constitutes 1/3 of what we do at the Rahway Public Library. We have 2 other departments that are also really integral in providing excellent service to the citizens of Rahway. Just to give you an idea, so Rahway, most people when they think of a library, they think of books. They think of readership, they think of things of that nature. What they don't really understand is we're essentially social workers for the public. And a lot of what we do is really geared towards getting people back to work. It's about navigating the intricacies of the unemployment system. I don't know if any of you guys have tried to get your anchor benefits yet, but what you need to do to establish your ID this year is what every unemployed citizen has to do in order to get their unemployment benefits. Now, you guys are blessed, you have computer skills. Most of the people that we work with do not. And essentially, if you're faced with hurdles like that, if you don't know how to use an email, if you don't know how to use a webcam, how are you going to establish your ID? So essentially, it's up to people like this, like Travis, Kirsten, Lauren, all of them who really work with these people. And I'm not kidding when I say they'll often sit with the patron for hours at a time to make sure that they get their benefits, that they get their resume posted to Indeed, just to get them an email address. I mean, it's really a thankless job, and I really don't think you can understand what it's like to do that and the patience that it requires, unless you've actually sat in their seats and done what they've done. So one other thing, as much as it pains me to say, and we would like to deny that certain things like this are happening, but we have a slate homeless problem nationwide, and it's really growing. And really, our staff are really on the front lines trying to fight homelessness and essentially get people back on their feet. And a lot of what that involves is, again, sitting with them, getting them their benefits, but also just being an extra set of eyes to make sure that someone who's having addiction problems, someone who's having some mental health issues, making sure that these people are actually getting the help they need and getting access to the resources that they deserve. And it just pains me to think that when people think of a library budget, they're only thinking of dollars and cents in terms of books and only thinking of children's services, when really it's the whole gamut. And I just want to make sure next time you guys are voting on our budget, that you really understand that and keep it in the forefront of your minds. So thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Shalia Lloyd, 171 Ivor Street.
Hi, good evening. I'm Gashilla Lloyd. I'm at 171 Ivor Street in Rahway, New Jersey. I wanted to come here today to just not only a lot of people talked about the funding needed, but I wanted to highlight just the compliance that we need with our library. According to New Jersey Administrative Code Title 15, Chapter 21, there are several things that we need to do in a city for our library in terms of a minimum number of hours of 50, which is exactly the number of hours we have. We have to have children's programming. We also have to have a library webpage. We have to have interloans. All of those, we have to have a minimum number of weekend hours at least once. All of those things are required for us to be in compliance with the New Jersey State Code and have a library that can be eligible for state aid, which is really critically important. In addition to that, there are also library laws in terms of how our library should be governed, and I think it's important as a council that you're aware of that and you enforce that, which ensures that a library Board of Trustees term is only 5 years. It should be staggered, and that person should only have we should have a new library trustee every year, because the terms of the 5 appointees by the mayor, including the mayor plus the person from the superintendent, should come up every year. That ensures, right, that we get right people, new people, but also fresh perspective. In addition, the state attorney general advised that someone should not be a city employee and also sit on our library board of trustees, which is not something that is currently in place, which is not necessarily which is actually the case of our library, and I think you all should take a look into that. And then in addition, one of the things I did want to highlight is that, like, as the previous speaker Michael has noted, there are, the idea of our library funding was coming from above and beyond, but there are mechanisms that are in place to avoid having to rely on the generosity of whoever's in administration, and that is to have a resolution. Several other New Jersey towns have done that. The Johnson Act allows the citizens to vote on a referendum that will ensure that the library gets funded above the 1/3 mill rate and divided advise on that. Two cities, Malwa and Phillipsburg, have already passed that in the state of New Jersey. It allows us and the council to feel confident that we have put in place the funding that we think is really critically important to our library, and doesn't allow for the whims that Michael talked about of like, it's 500, it's 200, maybe you put more here, maybe you don't. And that does allow that. That's something the council actually can take on and provide that referendum, and the city and the town could vote on that. And then we will know that we are improving for our library to be funded. And I also wanted to call out that, yeah, while the city has committed and has made the payment, the library is still short. And at some point in time, they will need to figure out how to get the additional 132, which is what was noted on the library call on Friday, to fund for the rest of the year. So I do hope that the council continues to ensure, to keep an eye on this, to ensure that we don't end up in another situation. That concludes.
Thank you.
Barbara Charnecki, 250 West Milton Avenue.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Barbara Zarnecki. I reside at 250 West Milton Avenue. I'd just like to state that I came up to offer some suggestions or ask some questions. I understand that this is not the time that I will get these answers, maybe after the meeting. But I was speaking to a friend of mine who is a Westfield, New Jersey council member, and I told him about the problems we're having with the library and defunding the library. And he let me know that there is a finance committee, and that 2 or 3 Westfield council members make up the finance committee, and that he told me that something like this would never have happened in Westfield, because the finance committee, being that 2 or 3 city council members are on the finance committee, it would have been made aware of the city council, and therefore the city council would have been able to do something about it, I believe. My question is there a finance committee of which 2 or 3 city council members sit on in order to, go through the budget? That's one question that I have. And if not, why not? And another suggestion, I came to the pre-council meeting last week when I went to the library rally. The library means a lot to me. When I was living in Westfield, I moved here 9 years ago with my husband, Arthur Santiago. He's a physician. His family's been in Rahway for over 60 years. And we moved to Rahway. I was pregnant with my twins. They're now almost 9 years old. And I was going to the library every day to study for my medical boards. 7 days a week, I was going to the library in Westfield. So it's near and dear in my heart, any library, especially ours here in our town, because there's such disparity between the people in this town. There's rich, there's poor, there's black, there's white, there's Hispanic, Latino. There are people from all backgrounds, Filipino, and everybody uses the library because it's essential. It does so many things for people. But the basic bottom line for me about the library is that I attended the pre-council meeting here last week, and I saw how near and dear it was to so many people's hearts. And when I attended that meeting, he told me that in Westfield, every single month they have a pre-council meeting, and the people in the community get to discuss with the city council members, and they get to ask their questions, ask and answer. It's a conversation. So I thought we could learn something from Westfield, because that seems like a great idea here, because we see that people are getting riled up, people are getting, they're looking for answers. And unfortunately, without that type of back and forth, we're kind of, in a bad situation, I guess you could say. I think if we had something like the Westfield pre-council meetings, where you can ask and answer questions and you have a conversation like they do, that we could learn from Westfield. And, why not? I mean, it's a great town, just like Rahway is a great town. And if we all sat down and had these pre-council meetings, it would help everybody to be on the same page. And when something like such a big disparity in a budget of the library or another department came up, we would all be aware of it, and we'd be able to help work to find a solution, rather than have a ninth hour, problem like we had. So anyway, that's just my suggestion, and those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adele Quinn, 83 East Cherry Street.
Good evening,
Good evening.
everyone. My name is Edel Quinn. My address is 83 East Cherry Street in Rahway. Like I said before, I've never been to a city council meeting, but I was invited tonight, so I'm honored to be here. And I feel bad for the gentleman who's celebrating his birthday here, but I hope he has a wonderful birthday celebration later with his family. I have a little tiny bookstore here in Rahway on East Cherry Street. I feel very sad about what's happening with the library. That's the main reason I'm here tonight. I'm willing to donate 500 books or more to the library if there's a shortage. I wish I had money to give them. I wish I had money to allow them to be available on Saturday for all the people that avail themselves of the wonderful services of the library. But I'm willing to donate books if that's something that the library would need. Also, I really appreciate what the gentleman was speaking about earlier this evening about funding the police department because, like the gentleman just said previously, the police department is probably the most integral department in any city because, like he stated, if citizens and their families don't feel safe in their community, the first thing they do is they say, I want to get out, I want to leave, I want to go somewhere else. Crime, theft, carjackings, assaults, all types of things that happen. If the police department is able to get more funding to allow the police officers that live here to police here, to work here, and to live here, it's going to boost the entire morale of the city. I know there are many communities that have incentives and programs when people buy houses that if teachers or police officers live in a certain area, they get certain benefits or credits specifically because they want people that teach to live in the area they teach. They want people that are police officers in the community to live in that community. And it's very sad to hear that so many Rahway police officers would actually take it upon themselves to leave and go somewhere else for the financial benefit. I understand that because life is getting very expensive. It's very hard for families to afford a basic life, putting their kids through school. But the idea of police officers in Rahway having a decrease in their salary to the point that they have to look elsewhere, it's very disheartening. And I'm outside a lot in Rahway. I have 4 children. I have a 13-year-old son. He's my youngest. My other 3 are all adults. But even last night, when I was walking with my son to my daughter's apartment, my daughter lives near the Union County Theater. There's a little park right there. There were about 7 guys, all fighting, all extremely intoxicated. One guy was threatening another guy, threatening to kill him, which is an absolute threat, and pounding his chest. So I called 911. I was with my 13-year-old son. The police came like that because they said, you know, we already have officers responding because multiple people had called, and people leave that little park area where the beautiful fountain is and the gorgeous mural on the wall. They leave that park because, and this was only about 8 o'clock in the evening. Sometimes there's so many people drinking and hanging out in that park, it makes it very unsafe for the community. And also as a side note, I found a broken bicycle there about 3 o'clock this morning. So I'd like to bring that to the police station in case somebody is missing their bike and might have belonged to one of the gentlemen that was intoxicated. But the police department definitely needs the most funding of this entire beautiful city of Rahway. And maybe if all of the wonderful council members could all agree collectively to maybe take small cuts in their pay, then those monies could go towards increasing the salaries of the police officers so that the police officers would not have to leave to go to other municipalities to do a job in a community that they absolutely love.
5 minutes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, Council President, if I may.
Yes, Mayor.
I just would like the public to understand that we are in ongoing negotiations with the PBA. It is a top priority for my administration. Obviously, with any negotiations, you cannot reveal where you're currently at with them because we are both, currently in the process of negotiating with the FMBA and the PBA, and I am confident before the end of the year that we will come to, terms for that negotiation and for those contracts moving forward.
Thank you, Mayor.
And may I add, our council makes $9,500 approximately, and they are the lowest paid in Union County for a municipality our size.
Ms. Capone.
Lisa Vanderveer, 254 Oak Street.
Hey y'all, Lisa Vandiver, 254 Oak Street. A lot of different thoughts tonight. I keep changing what I was going to talk about. But I think one thing is just decorum and how we talk to each other. It's not seeing a lot of enthusiasm from this way, so that's part of the issue I want to talk about. I think it's great. I don't know, Barbara, speaking about Westfield, the fact that they have a conversation and not just a talking at the attendees, and you're getting a little talk back now, but might be helpful to occasionally have some town halls and meet with your constituents and find out what our concerns are in a situation that does not involve a fundraiser or donation. Because really we're only left to come to you here, possibly send you an email, but that turns into all these private
Can you come a little
siloed-
closer to the mic? I'm
Sure.
sorry,
Yeah. That gives us all these siloed conversations. So if we have more opportunities to come and speak with you and to learn more about what you're trying to propose, explain what you're trying to create, because we look through these agendas and the ordinances are just block letter, blah, 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 blah. Don't know anything about them. You can kind of go through that big packet. But if we had more of a chance of a dialogue, I think that would be fantastic. I did come to talk about the mayor, and I'm very pleased to see the mayor taking responsibility for his actions with the board and not being present for so many months and years. I am a little troubled that we have not had a flat-out statement of an apology on behalf of Ian Sloat and the staff. I know it was addressed during the library board meeting, but the remark was just that it was inappropriate, and I haven't seen any real support for the work that the director and the library staff have been doing, which is just monumental, through the hardships. I was in there the other day. I don't go in there that often myself, but they've been working all summer without air conditioning, and that is just bonkers. So keep that in mind. And just my one other point, Mr. Renone talked about the public record. I'm very glad to see that we're getting caught up in some of our minutes and some of the stuff that's online. But I've come back to this time and time again about transparency and accountability. That information needs to be there for the public to have access to. I know Ms. Capone's doing a really good job of kind of getting us back up to speed, but there are still multiple departments that don't have the information available. And in terms of our comments being part of the public record, the minutes do not reflect that. They basically say X person spoke. They don't say what we're talking about, what we're concerned about, and if it's really a public record, there should be at least some kind of summary of what we're here for. So, just one more comment. The contempt that Mr. Renone just showed for my husband and for us is really disturbing, to say that we have a voice once we get elected to council. That was really appalling.
With due respect, ma'am, that's not what I said. The gentleman asked if he had the power to put an item on the agenda, and I said, if you
Okay.
get elected to the council, you do.
So
Please continue.
I will say that
1 minute
that the way
warning.
it was said was very dismissive and condescending. So if we're all going to retain decorum, that should apply to all of us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Andrew Garcia Phillips, 1470 Campbell Street.
Thank you. Andrew Garcia Phillips, 1470 Campbell Street. I want to point out a couple of you suggested last week that this situation, the library situation, was caused by the library board because it was their choice to close on Saturdays. But let's be clear that that choice was necessitated by the budget that you passed, as usual 9-0 with no questions. So I'm disappointed that you denied the resolution I sent to you yesterday and again today, because this would point out what it takes to fix this problem. It's in your hands. If you didn't get to read my resolution, this is what it takes. A $2 million library budget starting this year, increases equal to inflation or the city budget thereafter, guarantees to continue covering employee benefits and capital expenses on the building. That resolution ends this problem now. Pass it tonight, we all cheer and go home feeling warm and grateful. This body appropriates money, that's what you do. So do not leave here thinking that there's nothing you can do. That resolution is your chance to take control and fix this problem, not just this year, but every year going forward. There's an old saying, show me your budget and I'll tell you your values. The crowds you've seen this week are saying that the budget you passed this year does not reflect our community's values. I went back to find old budgets and I found 2008. In that year, the total budget was about $44 million and the library was $1.5 million. 3.5% of our dollars were spent on the library. This year, 1.8. 3.5, 1.8. That represents a big shift in our values as a community, and you need to listen to these crowds that have said that this is too far. So how did we get here? If you listen to the library board meeting on Friday, you got a glimpse of what is happening. The mayor admitted this problem was his mistake because he was not paying close enough attention. But then he did not promise to increase the budget to fix his mistake. Instead, he and Frank, the CFO, said they want to go through the library budget line by line with the board to find savings. Some of the suggestions they made Friday were to change the phone system, maybe you don't need to buy so many DVDs, maybe change light bulbs more quickly. They want to know how many kids show up for story time and how much it costs to deliver that program and others. Nickel and diming the library is not the next step that we need. Adequate funding is what we need. You will not save $300,000 with a new phone system. This is a good example of why the library is not a department of the city that falls under Frank's budget process. The library is a public trust with its own director, its own board, who are capable of making those choices. It does not need Frank to decide if book purchases have a high enough return on investment. Frank should have no role whatsoever in these decisions, and he's shown so because his assumptions about reserves and needs created this problem that we're dealing with. Remember that while the library spending is down, operating expenses for the finance department in 2008 were $135,000. This year, $1.3 million. It's literally up 900%. And sure, that's over 16 years, but in that period, the library is down 15%. If those numbers are outrageous to you, as they are to me, you should know that the one person in this room that is not shocked by that number is Frank Ruggiero. These values, Frank's values, are out of line with our community. From a community, by the way, that he takes home a salary from of $250,000. If he cannot accept our priorities, then I'm sure we can find a new accountant. The library problem does not need more time from Ray and Frank going
1
through
minute
the
warning.
budget. It needs less. It needs funding. Look, maybe you didn't understand this problem in July when you passed the budget, but it is clear now. Introduce and pass this resolution immediately. You do not need to wait for permission from the mayor or from Frank or from the lawyer. You are elected to be in charge. Any one of you can step up and make this motion for this resolution today. The lawyer said so. Lou said so as I sat down. Did you hear him? He said, if you're elected, you can make any resolution you want. So, to be clear, that power is yours. And if you sit back today, and next month, and the month after, and you fail to do anything, then the blame is going to be yours as well. And I saw that some of you were applauding about the idea of a referendum to put the onus on the people to decide what the budget would be, which is great for us. But you have the power now. If you had the guts to pass this resolution now, this problem would be solved.
Thank you.
Council President.
Yes, Mayor.
I just would not like for what I said earlier to be misrepresented. I do plan on going through the 2024 budget to get an understanding so we can have, the board itself can have a comprehensive understanding of what the needs are for the 2025 budget. I am fully committed to funding the library, but it's going to be for the needs, so it's an efficient, effective library budget that has, that, like I said, holds the library to the highest standards. It is not me going through trying to line item, cherry pick out things that I think is going to save us $300,000. I am aware that that is not the case, but we will go through the 2024 budget and have an understanding of the 2025 budget. And also, sir, I would ask that when you are up there and you address me in these chambers, you address me as mayor, because that is the correct and proper way to do so. Thank you, sir.
Order, please. Let's move on.
Amy Garcia Phillips, 1470 Campbell Street.
Let's be respectful, please. Thank you.
Wow, Andrew, those numbers. I'm Amy Garcia Phillips, 1470 Campbell Street. So, greetings. Today I would like to hit upon 2 points. First, I would like to speak about the Friends of the Rahway Public Library. This is an incredible organization that should be supported. I used to be an active member of the Friends. We had a dodgeball team. I wore a large, colorful tutu to the 80s murder mystery. I did their progressive dinners. I participated because, like you, I love our library and I wanted to support it. But as I started to learn the behind-the-scenes working, the veil was lifted. It was hard to watch these events that were raising money for the library when the same people running and supporting these events were cutting the budget. The Friends was created to advocate for the library for the fundraising and to add supplemental programming, the extra, not the basics. That money would be great for an addition to the children's section, or fund a guest speaker, or support a program that creates cultural experience. When our elected officials say, I hope to see you at the next Friends meeting, frankly, that is in poor form, because the money they might raise at the next fundraiser is a drop in the bucket in the ocean of bills that the library is confronted with currently. That money does not cover a new HVAC system or healthcare or electricity bills, and it shouldn't. So I ask you, when you are slashing the budget with a machete in the council meetings, the source of the library's only substantial funding, does it assuage your guilt when you try to stop the gush of bleeding with the tiniest of Band-Aids at the dodgeball tournament? The work of the Friends of the Library is invaluable, and we should all join the organization. But right here, this moment, this is the way that we can be the best friends of the library. What you are all doing, and what you, City Council, could be doing right now, finding ways to fund the library. Which brings me to my next point. Running for public office is not easy. I have known most of you personally, and I know that many of you went into this endeavor with the purest of intentions to serve your community to the best of your abilities. And I understand that you all have jobs and families and a million other things drawing your attention away. So when someone like Frank Ruggiero says, the library is underfunded, this is best for the city, you might think, well, he's the finance guy, so we'll just trust him. Or maybe you were sent the budget and that was the day or the week that was crazy, kids, parents, job, fill in the blank, right? And looking at the budget closely was the one thing that fell off your many spinning plates. So when that happens, you, as our elected officials, need to be reminded. Tuesday's outpouring of love and support for the library seemed to have made the message clear that the library should be overfunded. Your constituents have let you know in clear and uncertain terms that this is a fundamental value we all hold. And many of you have publicly agreed. Funding the library should be a high priority and not an afterthought, not an allotment of what's left over. You are required to stay vigilant. You were elected to be the checks and balances to the other branches of government. You've been entrusted to look, evaluate, ask questions, push back, do what's right, even when it seems to go against what the administration wants. But that is your job. It's even harder when you have been handpicked by the Democratic Committee. If you really do love public service and have an opinion that goes against the CEO or what the mayor is pushing, you will feel the wrath of Ray, Frank, and the entire Democratic Committee. Mayor. But you must put what is right ahead of your political aspirations. So now the question is, what will you do? What guardrails will you put up around this central Rahway value? What will you do to make sure that the Frank Ruggierios and future administrations continue to fund the library at the maximum level, not the minimum? What will you do to make sure our library staff is supported, paid well, and has the health benefits that are a basic human right?
1 minute
How
warning.
will you enshrine the funding that supports the programs our students require, our seniors appreciate, our young families long for, and your constituents need? Well, I have some ideas. Adopt the resolution that Andrew has proposed, or one of your own that encompasses the same funding requirements. Stop accepting what Frank Ruggiero says without questions. As Andrew said, his values are clearly not in alignment with those of the Rahway citizens. He is part of the reason we are here at this point. Or how about third? Require developers that want to build in Rahway to make a donation to the library, not just to your campaigns, as part of their deal. There is great precedent for this in other towns, like Metuchen. And this is an election year. You need to make sure that you or the mayor does not enact vengeance to the people who have spoken up. Rahway library staff, board members, or your constituents. We know this happens. You have all witnessed it or been a part of it. So stand up for what is right, funding the library and
5
putting
minutes.
an end to revenge politics. Thank you.
Thank you.
Betsy Martinez, no address provided.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
How you doing today?
Please, may you please provide your name and address, please?
Betsy Martinez, and I'm from the Kingdom. Betsy Martinez, and I'm from the Kingdom of God. And he has something to say to you guys
Ma'am, I
tonight.
really need you to provide your address, please.
Why, you gonna come visit me?
I might. If you invite me over,
Oh.
sure, I might.
I live at 123 Jesus Way. Amen. Okay.
Mom,
No,
ma'am.
I want to speak.
But be respectful.
I
Everybody,
am-
everyone has to provide their address. That's all we're
Okay.
asking. I'm not asking
Okay,
anything else.
595 West Grand Avenue. Remember, Mr. Brown?
Thank you.
When I asked you to put the signs up because my cars got all wrecked up? You remember me? I remember you. Okay. The reason why I'm here is because I've never been to this council meeting ever. Never. I've been here since 1999 in Rahway. I fought for the after-school program at Achieve to Excel. They wanted to take away the homework help from our students, and they reinstated it once I wrote a letter. Now I'm here to back up the library and all the people here. But I'm going to say one thing. You guys were elected to do God's work. You understand? He says that you have to take care of his people, and you had prayer earlier, and you said you wanted to do right by the people, then you have to do that. You have to do that. You're not here to spend God's money on other things. All these buildings going up. Come on, we have a lot of crime here now that we never experienced in our life. Rahway, 1999, was great. but it's not great anymore. And it all lies with this board member and this beautiful mayor who I bless right now. In Jesus' name, amen. I didn't come here to fight with anyone. I just want to be heard because I'm a Rahway citizen, okay? And you guys need to do right by the people here. You got elected to serve us. We don't work for you. You work for us. So start doing the job, okay? And that's what God wants me to tell you. You understand? You got elected to do a purpose here in Rahway. Not to be dancing around Rahway and singing. What kind of thing is that? We need police presence. We need the library funded. And it's going to happen in Jesus' name, amen. Because that's not your money. It's God's money. And whatever you do with God's money, you will feel it if you're not doing the right thing. And that's why I'm here, to warn you. Please don't do that to the people. Cutting them off while they're talking, not understanding. I didn't understand all this, and I'm trying to understand, and you guys don't explain anything to us. Very vague. It's not right. Don't do it. Don't do it anymore. Okay? I'm going to pray for you guys. You know why? Because if you don't do what's
1 minute
right by
warning.
God, He is going to come down on you. Okay? Because there's people right here. You can't abandon us. Especially you, Mr. Mayor. You can't. You shouldn't. You have a responsibility to all of us, not to a little bit of people, a little group. No. You didn't take office for that. Did you? I'm asking. Did you do that? No. So do right by the people. Okay? And I've been calling my councilwoman all day. Ward number 2, all day. Her line is busy. Why? You don't want to answer? So please do the right thing. And I'm going to pray for each and every one of you, which
5
I
minutes.
always do anyway. May God move your hearts and do right by the people.
Thank
In
you.
Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Because you're going to listen, and you're going to listen to the Almighty. And the wrath of God is nothing to play with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Travis Armstrong, no address provided.
Good evening again. Travis Armstrong,
Good evening.
1375 Maple Terrace. I want to thank the mayor first for giving, in the spirit of transparency, that resolution that I'm assuming that Danny Newberry, who's my council person, along with another gentleman, or Councilmember Jablisco, who I'm assuming are the authors of the resolution. So when something's being passed that you're voting on, and it's very unclear, because it's unclear to me where it was, then maybe you should take the time out before you say yes to explain to your constituents what it was. But that's not what I'm here for. I want to give you a little backstory. I came to Rahway in 1999. I moved from the shore. I worked in Newark, early childhood, teaching for 31 years. I'm now retired, and I've been in the library since the library was built. I got introduced to the library when I came to Rahway, being a teacher, not being able to afford books, and this is before Amazon, go to your local library. So I went to the local library, which was housed on Central Avenue, but then the hurricane came. I never got a chance to step foot in there. The children's room was located in the rec center. So I got to know the people who worked in the library, and I was invited to come and join the staff. So I'm working at the library now, and I've been working there with adults. And because I guess I have training in early childhood, I have the patience of Job. So I can walk, what Mark was saying, through with people who are having problem with ID Me and any other various technology things that they have on the internet that they can't get through. I'm there to help, and I serve in that capacity. I'm here also just to say thank everyone who came out. It was over 200 people on the Zoom call on Friday. I think it's important to also give people fair wages. I'm a union shop steward at the library. Just like you're in negotiation with the Fraternal Order of Police and Fire, the library also needs to make a decent wage. Nothing was resolved. Like I said, the Band-Aid approach. $210,000 that was offered by the city was that last allocation that came from the state for the state aid. There's still a hole that has to be filled. And from my understanding, that hole is only going to get us till December. And then we'll be back at the same thing, trying to find funding come January. The gap still exists. It will not be enough to keep us functioning. Again, societies and cultures are going to historically be known for their libraries, such as if we want to go to ancient Egypt. I don't understand how the recreational center has a bigger budget. The healthy lifestyle and longevity encompasses, which I know they encompass the senior center, and being healthy and having a healthy lifestyle is very important. But if there's going to be some type of tightening going on, I think that the whole city needs to look at how we can save money on everyone. It shouldn't be on the library's back. With that being said, I want to know, I noticed that the recreation center is a clearinghouse for the library, for the city rather, I'm sorry. When I want to find out information, my first thing would be to call the library. Unfortunately, if you step into the rec center, they have a whole table full of brochures, everything that's going on in the city. It shouldn't be. So when I want to inform myself with people that come to the library, I go to the rec center first, and some people bring me patrons, bring me flyers that they found on the table, so I can be well informed. So when people call the library and say, oh, I hear something's going on at the rec center or something, we should know, and we don't. Even with the newsletter, the Rawway Review, I have to go to the rec center to pick them up a stack to give to the patrons in the library. It shouldn't exist. Capital improvements, I know the mayor, you talked about bonds, but like, since I've been there, since it's been built, the windows, exterior windows have never been cleaned.
1 minute warning.
The carpeting needs to be replaced. Like, I saw this place, which was once the crown jewel of Union County when it was built under Kennedy, now deteriorate. And there's a lot of deterioration that is going to have to be addressed. And I'm hoping that I see a lot of faces, because now that I have the time, I'm involved. I want to be the change and the difference that I'm looking for. So that's why I'm involved. We're going to the council meetings, going to the budget meeting, to the board meetings, and I hope to see all of you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quane Palmer Chambliss, 1227 East Front Street, Plainfield.
Good, Quane? Quane Palmer Chambliss, 12270 East Front Street, Apartment 43B, Plainfield, New Jersey. First of all, I just want to like to thank all of my friends who came out here today and spoke on the issues with the library. If you notice, we're all dressed in pretty purple today, not just because we're royal, and we are, but because we came to support Miss Liz in the children's room with their new addition, and she invited us to all come for Purple Day. And I caught my lift and came all the way back home so I could support her in Purple Day. So I don't want to speak on any of the financing on the library. There are people who were much more smarter than me that were able to break it down and articulate it, and you still have the opportunity to do the resolution. I just want to talk about how thankful I am that there was some sort of resolve to this, although it's not perfect, because it got really, really nasty. Really, really nasty. Even at the end of the meeting, it got nasty. It got nasty Tuesday as we brought our concerns to the Democratic fundraiser that you guys had downtown Rawway, which was a great opportunity to speak to some of our people who live here, didn't even know where the library was, but also to let you know that we were very serious. We were encouraged to take that energy, right? Take that energy to the library, and we did. We took the energy there, and we also took it downtown, and as a result of that, we got some results. The biggest thing we got was an apology. That is something that that shows a lot of growth on your behalf, Mayor. And I'll call you Mayor in this meeting because you know my name for you is Raymond Jr. But Mayor, that showed a lot of growth on your behalf, and I hope that we see more growth on your behalf because guess what? Nobody's perfect. Everybody is growing, right? And it shows your constituents that you're able to finally listen. It's taking some time, but I'm hoping that it's something that's a change on the inside and not so much pressure on the outside from donors and people on the Democratic committee, that you realize that there's some internal work that needs to be done if you want to actually be an effective leader of the city. Before I go, I want to congratulate Councilman Brooks because you were able to do something that Harriet Tubman's husband was unable to do, and that was defend his wife. You defended your wife downtown Roy. You said some things that were a little bit out of line, which is why I want to have a meeting with all four of us with the police commissioners. But you were able to do something that Harriet Tubman's husband was not able to do, and that is defend his wife. And I know many of us don't know that history, and we think because she didn't travel with him, that made her a coward, which I push back on 100% as an African American woman, that any Caucasian man of privilege has the right to say that a man who he has never walked in his shoes, you don't even know what it is to walk in the shoes of black men 400 years later. You definitely don't have the right to speak on the choice that a black man made who was just so many days up from slavery. You were wrong for that. You have never publicly apologized for that. Nobody on this board required you to apologize for that. And I think that's a shame, especially for the people of color that sit here, or those of you that are adjacent to people of color. You never made him apologize for that, and it was wrong. It was historically inaccurate, and it was wrong. But congratulations to you for being able to do what her husband couldn't do. And I hope I look good with my 70-year-old self, because I was told I look like I'm 70. But I'm a bad-looking 70-year-old. You better know that. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Anne Marie Williams, 534 West Inman Avenue.
Hello, my name is Anne Marie Williams. I live at 534 West Inman Avenue. I have the pleasure of personally knowing all but one of you here, and I want to take these 5 minutes not to discuss what should or should not have happened. I want to remind you all that you were given the opportunity to run by the party, but you were chosen by the people of this city, and you need to remember that these are the people's voices and opinions that matter. In front of me are city officials who all advocate in their own right. Councilperson Mojica, you represent the Latino community, a Hispanic one. You need to fight for what's important for that community, and you're part of what the city and the RAB did with adding a Latino component to the programming. And don't forget them now. You need to advocate for them. Councilperson Miles, as an immigrant to this country, you are their voice. You are also an educator. Advocate for what the community people need here as strongly as you did for the cats, because they need you. Councilperson Newberry, you represent the LGBTQ community, and you know how important having a safe space is. You know how important having a safe space is. These meetings should be safe to speak regardless of anyone's personal opinion of the person speaking. Councilperson Brooks, the same energy you use to advocate for those justice impacted, use that power for the people behind me, because they need your voice. Councilperson President Parson, how many conversations about the wonderful direction the city was going did you have with me as a director of the RAB? Yet you chose not to advocate when the opportunity was on that dais. Don't do that now. While we recognize that this city council is only a small part of all the things that you do, we appreciate that you're here. You need to stop forgetting the huge impact that these resolutions you get in front of you make. Several of you here know that this library issue is not the first time a decision was made out of spite, and it's not okay. Frank, you are insanely smart with those budgets. Talk to people and not at them, and the difference would be night and day. I do not like public speaking at all, but I just had to. Your decisions affect more than the programs. As someone who personally was physically affected by the stress of your decisions, I am saying stop. Just stop. It's time to act like adults and don't puppet what you're told. It doesn't matter if people here today or last week came to support the library, to support the movement, or just to hear the tea, like the kids say. They are here and deserve democracy to work. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Alan Levy, 254 Oak Street.
Anne Marie, if people knew what this city did to you 3 years ago, they would know the power of your statement. And that was maybe one of the most moving words I've ever heard. You have such a right to be angry at these people.
Mr. Levy.
And you showed how people should act.
Thank you.
Of course, you're going to try to shout me down again. Earlier in this meeting, all I had wanted to do was talk earlier about the Special Improvement District. During the agenda item it was on, and how this city spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on the SID in secret, in violation of the OPMA, the Open Public Meetings Act, and the New Jersey Faulkner Act. But you did me a favor. You shouted me down for 5 minutes rather than let me speak. My purpose was to just show the citizens of this city another example, other than the library, of how this city government lacks any transparency and disrespects its citizens when they call it out. But again, you did me a favor by showing it rather than me saying it. So I thank all the people here who got to see that. After all, your own rules stated that any citizen could speak on any agenda item so long as it's not an ordinance on a second reading. And when I attempted to speak on that agenda item, rather than let me speak for my 5 minutes, you shouted me down. Now for that, I got flustered and upset. But again, I am happy to know that the citizens of Rahway got to see it for themselves, how this government treats its citizens with any respect. Mr. Renone, Your Highness, Mr. Mayor, you do realize that in the movie Footloose, the town council were the villains, right? You are aware of that. But do what you're going to do. And while I'm upset at losing my cool, this is not about my ego, it's not about me. It's about how you govern this city and how you treat your citizens. And it stinks. So instead of the SID, I'll talk about city governance and transparency. Library is a great example of how this city engages in conflicts of interest and appearances of impropriety. For example, as one prior speaker stated, the current treasurer on the Library Board of Trustees is also a city employee who works in the finance office. And I have sent, prior to this meeting, I sent you a copy of the New Jersey Attorney General's advisory opinion, which clearly states, and I'll read from it, for the reasons set forth below, you are advised that under the common law doctrine of incompatibility of offices, neither a councilman, commissioner, nor employee of the municipality may be appointed to the board of a free public library of the same municipality. But I guess the law doesn't matter up here. I mean, if you're willing to shout down a citizen during an OPMA public statement That just shows a lot. Because all the OPMA says is it doesn't do anything. I can't stop you from doing anything. It just means you got to sit there and let members of the city tell you how you're doing. But you couldn't deal with that. Couldn't give me just 5 minutes. You know, and what is the OPMA? People might wonder. All it is, it's the Sunshine Law. It gives the public the right to be present at meetings of public bodies and to witness in full detail the deliberation, policy formulation, and decision-making of public bodies. Now, I invite you all to read Broadway Rising, where they quoted last week one councilwoman who stated, quote, "Not everything is brought to our attention needs to be public information. In the sense of it, I have a question about something, or my colleagues, and how that may be debated prior to coming to meetings. We do have conversations at times amongst each other and question people in different opinions." Well, thank you for conceding in public that you guys violate the OPMA. Because guess what? These issues are public information. The public have a right to know this. And again, it doesn't mean the public gets to stop you. It just means we get to tell you, we don't like what you did. Now, the OPMA further states if a public body has a written policy that requires speakers to sign up in time. And by the way, I did even advise the clerk that I was going to be doing this, and I want to thank her. By the way, your clerk deserves a medal. I mean, thank you. Because no one's issue is with the clerk, it's with the policy being set. Now, you adopted those written policies, and because you didn't want me speaking on an issue, you changed the rules. You decided to move the goalposts, and that's all you guys do.
5 minutes.
You know the examples of what you did to Anne Marie, and I know she's not going to say it, but you really should be ashamed of yourselves for what you did to her and what you're doing to the rest of the citizens of this town. Please do better.
Thank you.
No one else has signed up.
Okay. Okay. Do I have anyone else? Okay. Please step forward and provide your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Carla Alvarez, 69 West Hazelwood. I just have a question. I came to the meetings to support the library, but I'm very interested in the operations of the meetings. So in order for me to get the most out of it, and this is a question, so I'm hoping that before I leave today, one of the council people can take me aside and explain it to me. I just want to know, how do I find out what is beyond the resolutions? Like, it's just a statement. How do I find out, be prepared for the next meeting, what is the resolution about? How did it come there? When was it, I guess, given to you for you guys to read? Same thing with the ordinances, first reading and then the final reading. You're reading to us just the sentence, but and then it has like two people's names. Does that mean those are the people who put the ordinance in? It's just confusing. So maybe there's a handbook I can read, or somebody can sit down with me for 15 minutes. I want to get the most out of these meetings, and this isn't enough. That's it.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Vanessa Rosell, 250 Stanton Street. And I just, we had some meetings about the library, and it's good to know that we are making some progress. I'm off of a real big high because I got the purple on, and we had about 250 kids in the library, and really do appreciate the mayor was there, council person was there, Joanna Miles was there, but she's also part of the Friends. So it was good to see you come to see the kind of work that we do. But I'm here to talk about in terms of us moving forward. And first, it's letting and trusting that the board will take care of their responsibilities as they are. And I'm very familiar with the board because I was on it for 26 years. I was the president for over 10 years. And I knew that our responsibility was recognizing the value of the community, preserving resources, always doing what was best for the library, planning and growing in the community, serving as advocates, hiring and supporting, evaluating a director, but most importantly, securing funding. And in order for these responsibilities to be met and for the board to really be effective, is to let the board decide how to use their endowments. Let the board and the directors submit a budget that addresses the needs of the library instead of having to cut some things back, such as laying off workers, eliminating programs and materials, making sure that the amounts received above the mandated minimum is fair and will be used to enhance the services, cover salaries, and make the library better. Listening to the recommendations made to the board by the community, trusting that the board and the directors have the best interest in the library, and they do. And the next thing I just want to ask the council is that when you are reviewing the library's budget, as you review many budgets, if you see that the mandated minimum amount is there, it truly is a red flag. Services can no longer be delivered at that amount without certain consequences. Making sure that the Rawway Redevelopment Agency takes care of that building. That building is 20 years old. And every time I go in there, I see some things that really need to be taken care of. And in the past, when I was on the board, sometimes we assumed some of those changes or some of those repairs, but it really wasn't part of the library's budget to do that. I invite all of you to come to the library. They just started a new access. It's called Stella, Sharing and Technology, Enhancing Local Libraries. Imagine you can go to the library now and not have to have your library card. And there's other initiatives that are happening. You know, I'm always saying, I left the board and then I went to the Friends because I thought I could make a better impact there, or that's where I wanted to put my energies. So we invite you to attend the events, come to the annual book sale. This party that was done, the Purple Party, was a family who donated a nice amount of money for us to create this Purple House. And every year he gives money in honor of his wife. And if you haven't been over there, you got to see the Purple House. So just go ahead and check that out. And the last thing I want to say is funding for libraries. It says something about a city. Every time I travel, I'm always going to a library. I want to see what they're doing. And I can tell a library that is better, and I can tell a library that's just a library. And you can see that when a library is better, it indicates that the city supports lifelong learning, children and adult development, and access to resources. At the ribbon cutting 20 years ago, the ex-mayor of Rawway, Jim Kennedy, he said this could be the best library in the state. Let us continue to uphold that goal and work towards making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have anyone else?
Good evening. I am Kirsten Oliver, 605 Washington Avenue, Kenilworth. I don't live here any longer, but I did reside at 1420 Campbell Street for 3 years. So I'm invested. I'm not going to speak on the importance of the library. The community has done that plenty. I just want to urge the council that when hopefully you are discussing providing the library with adequate funding for us to keep the lights on and the doors open, and us providing the help that the people of Rahway rely on, that, sorry, I lost my place. If I urge you that if the finance office or the mayor's office or the business administration, I'm not sure of the many titles of city council, unfortunately, but if they push back and urge that we need to stay under 2%, we can't do this or that, or well, we also provide the library staff's health care coverage. If they do that, if they push back in that way, I urge you to question them and ask you for numbers. Specifically, what number does that 2% increase represent? Are you nickel and diming us out of, say, you can't raise the taxes through 30 million, yet we only need 132,000? That is my question, and that is what I urge the council to do. I just want to know why does the CFO of Rahway feel the need to clarify the city is not hostile to the library? These are from the August 2023 Library Board meeting notes. And then later goes on to say that same meeting, there have been many years of library overfunding. I'm here to correct the record. This is a direct quote from Mr. Frank over here. Please don't allow these men to nickel and dime us now. Please don't allow them. Please don't allow them to nickel and dime the people of Rahway. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Ron McCrae, good evening. 840 East Hazelwood Avenue. I just want to make a couple points. First point is, as we know, when you first open up, you pledge allegiance to the flag. Freedom and justice for all. Unfortunately, it doesn't stand. There is, if I pronounce it, the high-rise on Main Street, Meridia or whatever, public safety. You should have them put up a two-way mirror and horn so people can know when they're coming and they know who's passing by, whether they're walking or riding a bike. Otherwise, somebody's going to get hit, and you will be responsible. I heard a lot of points here, and the points that I've heard here only piggyback on what I've been saying for years. And this gentleman behind me, the latter part of what he was saying was about public safety. You hear me on a regular basis about public safety that you have ignored every single time I come here. You talk about slow down speeding. Do you know factually, I want everybody here to understand, and I don't believe there's anybody here that have 18-wheel dump trucks, every kind of vehicle doing 50, 60s, even a crazy one, 2 o'clock in the morning, doing up 70 miles an hour because they think it's a runway. And not one damn police officer stopped to give out tickets. You talk about funding the police officers, but wait a minute, are they community engaged? If you ain't giving out police tickets, then you don't need to raise their prices because there's money that should be coming in, but you didn't do nothing. Public safety should be a priority. That's the foundation of society. There was an earthquake, as I said. People didn't look for funding, they looked for safety. Who can help them? How many people here was aware that there was an explosion at Covanta, now Reworld? Did you publicize that? It could have been catastrophic, but nobody didn't know anything about that. You see, because you don't give a darn about that side of the community. People are flying up and down that road each and every single day. I could tell you all the companies, I could tell you every truck that fly up and down there. I could tell you every police officer that go up and down there. You think they stop and give out tickets? No. I spoke, the present police director knew about it, the previous one, every single one back to 90-something. I've been coming here in reference to public safety, but you haven't. You talk about financing the library. What good is it if there's no public safety? What good is it if you only care about certain kids going to the public library? Education is a priority. Even every other country who could not and was not allowed to go to a library was finding a book to read something, to learn something. But you talk about finance. If there was no finance, what would you do? If you didn't get paid, would you take on these positions? Your position, as I said, much is given, much is required. If you don't take heed to your responsibility, then you really don't give a damn about the people here. So everything that people come up here and say really serves no purpose because you should take that as firsthand. All these agendas that you put down and try to pass this law, but not one time I've heard anybody as a whole come up and say, you know what, we're going to address public safety. We're going to address speeding. I don't like Broadway anymore. I've been there many years because there is no public safety. They fly up and down East Hazelwood, going all the way down, even Main Street, because you do not put emphasis on public safety. And so when we talk about police officers and firefighters, I have police officers in my family, personal friends since the 20s, up to 2015. I had cousins who was in firefighter. I was on the firefighter department in Berkeley Heights. So it doesn't matter. I didn't say that to be part of. I said it because you don't know somebody's story until you engage in their relationship, to have a dialogue. That's what's important. So the gentleman here and everybody else who made points is on point. Public safety. What are you going to do about public safety? The speeding. What good is rising up and cutting ribbons on a new business? Broadway is a business. You can't welcome new clients if you don't have a product that they want. And if they have somebody to complain about the product, who do they go to if you don't care, the manager? I came here because, again, as it was said, you
5
ask the
minutes.
people, and from the mayor on down to the president council, you are responsible for your own action and your conduct.
Thank you. Okay, do I have anyone else who would like to speak? Not, I will have one coming up, okay.
Good evening,
Good
Bernice Young, 200. Not that tall.
Good evening.
Good evening, 200 East Milton Avenue, Rawway. We had a fine time in the summer here in Rawway, something to do from the children up to the seniors. I've been to many memoriams. I've been asked at the last one, when will you do another book? I ran into 3 brothers that were in the service, and they all said, I should be in the next one. I know 2 90-year-olds who would like to be in the book. I can call the library for help. I can go there for help. They're very nice people. They take time, very patient. I go to Estherbrook. The seniors there are helped. The young lady helped me with my phone. We're doing pretty good, and I like Rawway. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the public part of the meeting. BA, please go ahead.
Good evening. I'll just make this one real quick. I have 2 bosses that I answer to, 3 because the Lord is one, but the main one. Thank you, ma'am. But one of them sends me videos of my grandson at the library every now and again, and I can tell you that no matter how busy my day is, or how upset I am, or how even if I'm in a good mood, that video makes my day better, and that's Miss Liz with my grandson Banks. I've never talked to her in my life, but I see the videos pop up in my phone every now and again, and they truly make a difference. So from me to you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. The second thing that I really wanted to say is the commitment that the mayor has had with myself and the department heads on getting all these things right. We're human. That's all I can say to that. We're human, and we're committed to that. The very first book that I ever read my children, I got from a library. I didn't want to do Dr. Seuss, and we did all that stuff, but I went to a library, and that book, there was a phrase that it said, leadership is the privilege to have the responsibility to direct the action of others in carrying out the purposes of the organization at various levels of accountability, with accountability for both successful and failed endeavors. We have a privilege. We are all up here privileged to sit here and listen to your comments, and sometimes your accolades and sometimes your complaints. But we're also accountable for those successful and failed endeavors, and we recognize that. And I can assure you, I hear it a lot more than you do, how we need to be getting it better, and we, the administration, the department heads, are all moving forward under the mayor and council's guys to get that done. So again, to mayor and council, thank you. But Ms. Liz, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any council member that would like to speak? Councilman Jablisco?
Yes, yes. It's great to see a lot of people out here. My thing tonight is I'm having my annual softball tournament, which is going to be at Rowway Park. It's my 28th year we've been having it for Children's Hospital, Lightning Wheels. We've been doing this for 28 years. We raised it the last 2 years. Last year we raised $11,000. Hopefully this year we raise another $11,000. What we do is we have a 10-team round-robin tournament. We give out prizes. We have a barbecue. We have we have a pizza truck coming all. And if anybody wants to come and see and meet the kids, we have a lot of kids that come into wheelchairs from Children's Hospital, from the racing team. You're all more than welcome to come. I thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Jablisco.
Rowway Park, it'll be Saturday. It starts at 9 to 5. This Saturday.
Okay, Councilman Brooks.
Thank you, Council President. Also going to parrot much of what our business administrator, John Parham, mentioned. Myself and my colleagues, we're flattered that people look to us and they feel that little old me could help them. It's a position I take very serious. It's very humbling, and it's great to do it for your neighbors. So when things like this, do come about and there seems to be a bit of a disconnect, I would hope, and many of you know me personally, and, for those who don't know my council colleagues, they're all great people. I would hope that we would get your benefit of the doubt. We're all very approachable. Our phone numbers are public. Our addresses are public. Mr. Levy, you and I have had many conversations before, pretty spirited on one end. But again, I've been in town for about 30 years. I visited the library. We used to walk to the library to do a certain activity after school, walking up and down Central Avenue. That just goes to show how long I've been here in the city of Rahway. So I just want to put that out there. Additionally, I did want to say that as far as the public safety aspect of things, Mr. McCray, I know you very well, known you for this guy right here, if you don't know, can walk a mean runway. He can do it. There's a couple things that I'm going to email you in regards to some of the issues that you brought up. I know you came into the meeting a bit late today, and I did try to address a large part of your concerns today. So I wanted to put that out there. Outside of that, it's a new school year. Best of luck to all the educators and all the students this year. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Councilman Brown?
Yes. Thank you, very Council President. I just wanted to take maybe just a few minutes to say to the people that are here, thank you very much. But one of the things I wanted to speak on was about the city of Rahway and with the group that's called Teen Works. It's a program that was started here in the city of Rahway. And you should see the progress that it has made this year. And the reason why is because with the mayor, my participation with the director there, we're making it happen. And I'm just going to say, really, we worked with Merck and Company, we worked with Meridia, we worked with the New World, which was Cavanta, all right? And it was another thing in which we're going to be doing is with careers in construction with the kids. Now, let me tell you something. I've been on this board over 25 years. And when you heard the mayor said that many years, and I think I got a raise when I started here. And I think we make about $9,000. And the appreciation that I like because of Rahway. And let me just close by saying this. And I wanted to thank the mayor again for this family, I guess it's Judah Phillips, that we're going to be doing something with the river, the garden, right? The rain garden. And we're going to do something with it. And Home Depot gave me a gift certificate of $50 to give to them to start the program. I don't know, the Phillips family or whatever, but the son is a good kid, is being a Boy Scout. The other thing that I wanted to say is that the city of Rahway gave out book bags. They were very nice. And they had some left over, and I was able to give them to the schools, 150 of them. The reason why I did it was because of the mayor saying, do we love Rahway? The other part that I wanted to say was that at the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, we have a garden. And we have over 45 people that come and put a gardening there. And it's very nice. The other thing is that over at Irving Street, United Way, we're putting a garden there. And that's only because this council works with Miss, I'm speaking now. All right? I'm speaking now. Okay? All right. God bless you. All right? The other part that I wanted to say is that we here on council work together to make things happen, and it takes a team effort. It takes time to do things if people work together in cooperation and not criticize of doing anything. I'm the guy that says I don't mind constructive criticism, but I do mind when people just come up and say things that I think is just not proper, giving respect to each other. And I think the council deserves respect, not just talk. It's about doing and working together. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you.
Council President.
Councilwoman Miles?
I'd just like to wish all the children in the town a fantastic school year. I'm a high school teacher. I have my second day with the kids, and I have good kids, so I'm very happy about that. But I really wish them a fantastic year, and parents too. I want to thank you in advance for everything you do for your kids, because you make a difference. Just like the library makes a difference, and reading and literacy is so important. Reading to your kids, it does so much in school, and the kids are much better writers when they read, which is fantastic. Just one more thing. Councilman Brooks read the Patriot Day proclamation, and one of the things it called for was volunteerism and a day of service. So I do want to mention that all around Rahway, there are so many 501c3 organizations. It could be Food for Friends, it could be the Friends of the Library, which is one of my things that I really enjoy doing. And my point is that there are many places to volunteer, and many organizations around town need volunteers, and they are short of volunteers. If you look at the different ones around town, there are not many volunteers in different groups, and it is really important. If you have 1 hour a month or 2 hours a month or maybe more time, there are organizations throughout Rahway that need the community's help. And one of the things about shortage is that young people, I'm not necessarily talking about kids, but 20s, 30s, less people are volunteering than like 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds, used to, and 80-year-olds, etc. There is a great need for volunteerism in the community. Volunteerism is one thing that makes community, because it brings people together. And so I'd just like to bounce off the proclamation just to remind people there's so many different groups that you can get involved with in Rahway. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mojica.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out. I greatly admire the passion that I've seen throughout these last couple of council meetings, and of course on that library board meeting as well. This same passion, I'd like to see it at our Hispanic heritage events throughout the city. I think we've had events in the past, and sure, they're okay attended, but I think we could do a little better than that. So I'm challenging everybody here and everyone that you may know to come out first to launch the Hispanic Heritage Month here in Rahway on the 15th of September. That's a Sunday. Come on out. We've got a flag raising, and we're going to have subsequent events throughout the month and well into October regarding Hispanic Heritage Month. Maybe there's something that you might like, so I urge you to go on our city's website, our Facebook page, and see what better fits. I mean, we've got salsa, we've got food. Who doesn't like food? I mean, I love food, let me tell you. And, of course, networking events throughout the city. But come on out, really. You know, you came out today, and that's definitely extremely commendable. But get to know a part of the city, a part of the population that maybe you might not know much about. One thing about Hispanics is we love to share. We love to tell people and let people know who we actually are. And you'd be surprised, we're very similar to a lot of other people throughout our city. It just takes some asking questions, just like I like asking questions here tonight. Let's ask questions of each other just to get to know one another. That's really important. With that being said, Council President, thank you. And, of course, to the students, welcome back to school and be safe out there.
Thank you.
I just wanted to piggyback off of what Councilman Mojica mentioned. I had the pleasure of attending a few of the Celebration events, which were great. So I do urge everyone to come out. It is a family event. Everyone had a great time. They do have a 360 at times, which we enjoyed as well. But it also gives us a chance to patronize the local businesses as well. So I just wanted to make mention of that. And just as everyone else said, in my ward at my school, first day of school, there was a great outpouring of parents and all additional family members to wish the kids a great first day of school, second day, and so on. And I just would like to wish not only the teachers, but also the administration, let's not forget about those behind the scenes that are working to keep the schools safe and clean for our children. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay. Most of my colleagues have spoken up for the night, and I really want to. Councilwoman Newberry? Councilwoman Newberry. My apologies for the confusion. I too would like to acknowledge that I do believe the commitment the mayor has made and the city council in getting it right as we move into the future and ensuring that our library has the resources to be efficient and functional. Many of you may not realize that, but Ms. Vanessa back there knows my daughter by my oldest daughter by name, and we had a brief conversation last Tuesday, and school started, and my sixth grader went to school, and in her classroom, the teacher asked almost immediately, how many students finished their summer reading challenge? And you won't believe that my child was the only child in her room that raised her hand. And guess what? She did it at the Rahway Public Library all summer. We will get it right, and we're here for the community. I also want to commend, because my family does spend a lot of time in various locations throughout the city, and we had the pleasure of attending Paws and All. Thank you to the health department. It was a very, very fun event on Saturday. We brought our dog Boo because he's way more well behaved than our dog Scout. Scout can't go out. As our health department grows and we find more and more that they are providing the resources that we need, especially having all of us having lived through the years, well, the pandemic and then the years following, I'm more and more impressed by the capacity that we are building in our health department. So including
a social worker. I wanted to make sure I got the phrase correct. The city, we have a social worker in our health department. We are expanding constantly to ensure that our residents have, as we did during COVID, our residents have first access to vaccines, high priority for our seniors and those who wished to have them. So our health department, I commend you, I appreciate you. All of our department heads, we commend you and we appreciate you every day. But I had a blast on Saturday and I just wanted to share that experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, thank everyone for coming out. As council, we are going to continue trying to do our best to always put the public first and try to work together to try to make sure that everybody is going to be pleased. We're not going to get it right all the time, but we're definitely going to do our best, and we're definitely approachable. Any questions or concerns, just please reach out. Our information is public information, our emails, our cell phones. Please reach out. You see us out in public, you can always approach us and we can have decent conversation. I'm always open for that, all right? And with that being said, there's a lot of great stuff happening throughout town, so definitely go and check out some of the things that are going to be going on. Councilman Jabalisco just mentioned some stuff that's happening with his organization he's part of, so please check that out as well. All right, may I have a mover and a second to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Have a good evening, everyone.